Hey guys, Heath the Geek here with a deck profile video. I haven't done one of these in probably a couple of years. I finally had a chance to uh, make a new deck. This is a deck I've been working on since it was announced, which was the Magistus archetype. So I had to make a Magistus Pendulum deck. I feel like with the way the format is, Magistus add a level of consistency that pendulum decks in general just have not had for a very long time. Uh, Especially since the banning of the Link Monster, Plush Fire, Skullcrowback Joker. Um, the deck has not been in a good spot ever since. A lot of people think the deck is dead, but I think the deck is still pretty much alive and well. I've been playing this build IRL at locals and have done decently well with it. Um, this is actually the third variant of the deck I've made. The first variant I was using Pendulum Sorcerer, which is a really good pendulum support card. Um, and then I tried a Painful Choice build, which is uh, like a sister build to this deck that I have here. But this is the build that I like the most currently, and this is probably the build I'll be playing moving forward with some minor adjustments. But I'll get right into the deck list. 3 Zoroa, 3 Endymion, 3 Vere, 1 Crowley, 3 Mystical Beast Cerberus, 2 Jackal King, 1 Servant of Endymion, 2 Mighty Master, 1 Dark Magician, 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon, 1 Trick Hound, 3 Magical Libra, 3 Dragon Pulse Magician, 1 Invocation, 1 Vritra, 1 Trismegistus, 3 Spell Power Mastery, 3 Unexpected Die, 1 Pot of Avarice, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Red Eyes Fusion, and then 1 Upstart Goblin. A total of 40 cards. No more, no less. I think 40 is the best number. So yeah, Magistus with pendulums. Not the normal set of pendulums. These pendulums are quite a bit different. The Magistus add a layer of consistency, which I mentioned at the top of the video. Every top deck right now has 1 card starters that gets their engine going, that fuels the rest of the deck. Pendulums never really had that. Pendulums had to rely on having 2 to 3 card hands with specific cards to do a pendulum summon or do something very specific, or they always had to rely on Duelist Alliance or a Pendulum Call, which obviously getting hit with Ash or Drone Lockbird was pretty much a turn ender. Still is in a lot of cases with all the hand traps in the format now. Everyone main decking a whole bunch of hand traps. It's really difficult for a generic pendulum deck that relies on Pen Call or Duelist Alliance to get anything done really. Granted, this build is a lot slower because it uses normal summons, but the 1 card engine means that you don't have to use all your card resources to start your turn, to make a play or even try to make a board. If the opponent has Ash or a Droll, you don't like lose everything if they pop your scales. Also, like on the other pendulum decks, this deck you don't pendulum summon as often. The pendulum summon ability is there, but you're not trying to do a pendulum summon every turn. In fact, you're rarely trying to do it. You're just trying to establish a board of some consistency and then have a follow-up play for next turn. But so obviously we have 3 Zorora. It lets you equip an Artemis, get a search, which I forgot to mention the extra deck, but and then Mighty Master or Monster Endymion. He's like the main guy for the deck. He's searchable by Spell Power Mastery because he is an Endymion card because he has Endymion in his name. Yes, that does work. You can do that. The same reason why you can search this, use this to search the field spell. He also has the equip effect that Zorora has, which lets you search for another Magistus monster using Artemis or Baby Selene, as she likes to be called. Because he's also a water type, it lets you go into Abyss Shark or Bahamut Shark here, which requires 2 water monsters. Using him or Magical Libra, or him with Crowley, which Artemis can search because he can change his attribute to water. That lets you make a anything negate and totally awesome with Bahamut Shark. The extra deck space is really tight, so I only can afford to play 1. You can play 2. But obviously, this can recycle itself if you can get this Bahamut Shark to live for a turn to recycle this so you can use it again. Or optionally, if Totally Awesome pops itself, you can get Endymion back because he is a water monster. Or you could get this, but you probably want this instead. The 3 Vure is obviously that's the rest of the Magistus core. We play 1 Invocation, 1 Vitra, and 1 Magistus. So we have 3 targets for 3 Vure, just in case you can resolve all 3. You get 3 searches, so that way you're always searching something with her over the course of a game. Vitra is like the monster reborn for Magistus monsters. It special summons 1 back. That's level 4 or lower. It has to have a level, so it can't bring back the fusion or the link monster or even the synchro if you play it. But it gets any of these guys back. They also get their effects, which is really nice to have that support. It has a secondary effect, but you're rarely going to resolve that. Invocation, the fusion spell that lets you make a wasp, which is kind of like a on the field quick play negate. So that's another negate option that you can easily go into. Using Invocation also lets you use the Artemis if it's equipped on the field as the other requirement to make a wasp, because he requires a spellcaster and a Magistus monster. So that's some really nice usefulness. Another thing about Invocation, it can be used to actually fusion summon anything realistically. As long as it requires a spellcaster, this can make anything. So it can make Dragoon, ironically enough, if you have the materials in hand. It can make AWAS. It can also make a lot of the Shadal monsters, a lot of the Shadal fusions using this. There's a lot of Shadal builds in OCG running Magistus, but I like Pendulums. I'm a Pendulum fan, so I wanted to make this build work with Pendulums. I feel the synergy is there because there's a lot of spellcasters. The Mythical Beast package, we're not playing the continuous spell because that's a straight up brick. I hate that card. It's great for building spell counters, but the fact that that card is not searchable and that card is just a brick until you get these. And these are only 5 cards, but the 3-2 ratio is like one of the worst ratios because sometimes you won't even see this entire package in the deck when you're playing. And yeah, obviously you always want to see Cerberus first, then Jackal King. Great thing with this deck is that even if this gets ashed in the scale or negated by something, enemy and secondary effect can actually pop any face-up spell you control to draw a card and put 1 back on the bottom of your deck. So that includes your pen scale. So even if this gets stuck in the scale for some reason, you can get rid of it, and you get a draw. And obviously this will go back to the extra deck, so you might even be able to pendulum summon this back out later, or not. But the utility option is there because Endymion does so much for the deck. He's a really useful card. I think he's actually better than Zerora in this particular build. He's usually the guy you search for first. He's the most searchable and he does the most things for the deck and lets you make all the very unique extra deck plays using him. So in other builds, these guys are just bricks. A lot of people don't like this package, but in this build, it's not even really that much of a brick with Endymion the monster. Obviously, the Servant and Mighty Master mini package here. Only playing 2 because 3 was a little bit too much. Try to keep the deck at 40 cards. I couldn't fit the 3rd one. But because we don't pen him summon nearly as much, there's not a huge emphasis on him. It's also really hard to get counters for her. And because we have a much lower spell count than other pendulum builds, our spell count is not that high. I think a lot of the other pendulum builds are around 17. I think we're only playing 14 spells. If I'm reading Dueling Book correctly, so not a very high spell count. But obviously, if you can resolve it and get this out or even this or this that's really good. So it's still there. The option and utility is there. Also, she counts as our low scale because I do believe we play more low scales than high scales. So yeah, obviously she's at ones with this player. Obviously the Dragoon package and the 2 bricks. This bricks more than this does in a Spellcaster or Pendulum deck. So you'd never want to see this. Drawing this is actually okay because you can actually pen summon this once in a while. But this is just a straight up brick, so you never want to draw this. Trick Clown. This is like a necessity in any Pendulum or Spellcaster deck moving forward, thanks to Artemis existing. This is a 1-card Dragoon play because you can normal summon or special summon this. Make Artemis, use this effect to bring this back. Go into Verte Anaconda, and you get Dragoon. It's just that easy. So like Trick Clown's like a mandatory card now. You should be playing Trick Clown in all your Spellcaster or Pendulum builds. I'm pretty sure Shaddolls are playing Trick Clown. I think even was it forget the name of it, but there's multiple other decks that are playing Trick Clown. Trick Clown's a really good card now. Even with the amount of life points you end up paying just to do the combo, he's still worth it because it lets you make plays even if you dead draw. The normal monsters. The reason why we play these is because they're all level 4 spellcasters. This is also water. The unique thing about this one that it is the only water pendulum spellcaster that's a normal monster, so we can unexpected die it to get out of the deck directly. That offers a lot more synergy and speed to the deck than it otherwise would normally have. Yes, we do have to play a crappy normal monster to get that speed and consistency, but it's worth it. Also, this will allow us to go into Rillanoa in the future when this comes out. It'll be out in the next set, but it's out in OCG now. But this is going to be a really good extender for Magistus moving forward. It does have a crappy restriction on it that you can only bring out Magistus after you make this and use its effect, but it's still worth it. This card does a lot for the deck. Even though it has no effect, it does 5 different things. It is a normal monster, it is a water monster, it is a spellcaster, it is a tuner, it is a pendulum. That's right, it has like 5 different things that all work well with this deck. And it has its spell card effect is pretty crappy, you'll never use it. 5 scale is also kind of crappy, but because our entire deck is based on level 4s, the 5 scale restriction isn't even that bad because we really only need a scale higher than 4 to pendulum summon. And then a scale lower than 4, so 3 or less. So even it being a 5 scale isn't that big of a negative because we're really not going to be pendulum summoning this or even this really that often. So his scales don't really matter, his scalability doesn't matter, but he has everything else attribute and stat wise that makes him really good for this deck. Dragon Pulse Magician is just another set of normal monsters to play. That's a pendulum. It's also a 1 scale, which is really good. This pendulum effect, you're probably not going to resolve it, but it's there. So he's just another target for unexpected die if you run out of these, or if you don't have any more left, you can bring one of these out. I already mentioned what these are for. At least these two. Trismegistus. This lets you special summon any level 4 or lower spellcaster from your hand once per turn as an on-field effect. So obviously, if you have Vere as your opening play, you normal special summon it to get this, and you play this. If any of these in your hand, or even a Crowley, or even one of these normal monsters, or even Trick Clown, because they're all spellcasters, you can special summon them with this. That makes this card incredibly useful. The secondary effect is basically a Magistus Pendulum summon. That's literally what it is. It lets you special summon as many Magistus monsters from your hand with different names that you control onto the field. So it's really difficult to like straight up brick with this deck if you have Vere and you can actually resolve it to get to this. Even if you open up with a bunch of these in your hand, you can still play them thanks to this. So the deck even has a way to kind of unbrick itself from its own core package, which is really nice and useful. Obviously the masteries, because we have 3 of these, so we have 3 of these. They can search each other. They can also search this. You end up mostly searching for this because this is a better starter than either of these in this deck. But if you have this already in hand, you would play this, get your 2 counters, and you can still search this, which is insanely good. That's a great opening play. Obviously, Unexpected Die for our normals. It lets us get another spellcaster onto the field, which is the other big thing about this deck, which is also why I play the Mythical Beast package. We always want to have a spellcaster on the field. That's how this deck works, thanks to the Magistus. It makes it very easy to get a spellcaster onto the field. That one spellcaster gets us to all of our plays. Even opening with one of these as a normally be a dead draw, you can normal summon it and make Artemis. So even then, it still lets us do something as opposed to other pendulum decks. Pot of Avarice has a lot of utility in this deck. It allows the deck to play into the late game. Very often you'll go through all 3 of your Artemis within like the first 2 turns of the game. Pot of Avarice puts those 3s back. You can reuse them later on in the match. Get your 2 draws. It's a really useful and good card for this deck because normally in other pendulum decks, you wouldn't even play this because they'll never go to the graveyard. But because we're playing all these actual monsters, we actually have a graveyard to make Pot of Avarice a live card plus these. So yeah, Avarice will almost always be live when you draw it. Foolish Burial. Obviously, we have Trick Clown. Zorora special summon effect for the second effect. Even Vere, its secondary effect is a graveyard effect. You may use that once in a while. So we do play the 1 Foolish Burial. It can be very useful when you need it, especially with Trick Clown. Obviously, Red Eyes Fusion for a Dragoon. And then the 1 Upstart Goblin, which is the obligatory extra spell to make this a 39 card deck effectively. Get counters for Servant, thin the deck. That's why it's there. Like I said, extra deck space is really tight, but we do play the 3 Artemis. That's kind of mandatory for the Anaconda. Borreload, we don't play Borrelosaur because we don't really need it. Borreload's better for outing stupid cards like an opposing Dragoon that already uses effect to get rid of it, take control of it. Chaos Max, a lot of other annoying cards. This just gets around a lot of annoying things that we normally can't get rid of. We still play regular Selene because we're playing baby Selenes. You actually don't go into this as often as you do with the other pendulum based decks, but it's still there. It can lead into other plays. I mentioned Totally Awesome with Bahamut Shark, which is a neat play this deck makes. This deck can actually make 2200 Abyss Dwellers thanks to Water Monsters. Water Monsters 2200 Abyss Dweller is surprisingly really good, even with its fairly low attack. Even at 22, that's normally not good. But for Abyss Dweller, that's really good. Baguska, because we're playing rank 4s, level 4s. Gotta play a good level 4. Drill Driver, the B Drill. We just make this if we've used this up, or we use this up, or we use this up. And you can make this, and then if the opponent kills it, you get one of these guys back, which is nice. Obviously Zeus, because we're playing Exceed, so we gotta play a Zeus. AWAS, so we can actually resolve the fusion spell for a target. It's an interruption, so we might as well play it. Dragoon, Borreload, because we're playing a lot of tuners. We actually rarely go into this, but it's still there because we have all these link monsters that usually end up dying. So we can at least give him 1 negate and make him useful. Once the next set comes out, Lightning Overdrive, this card will have to get slotted in somehow, and we'll probably have to play a copy of this. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to be taking out for either of those as of yet, but we'll see how the format plays out when that set comes out. We'll make my decision based on that. But yeah, wanted to show off my Magistus Pendulum deck. Feel free to try it out for yourself. Leave a comment below for any advice, changes, tips, anything. I do read my comments, so I'll be sure to leave a reply to your comment if you leave a comment. I would definitely appreciate it. I don't mind the criticism on the deck. I know it's a little bit different than what a lot of people are used to seeing. I don't think I've seen too many actual Magistus Pendulum builds on YouTube. I was hoping the Pen God would do one, but he hasn't done one yet. but I definitely want to get my build out there and see what everyone thinks. So yeah, thanks for watching the video. I definitely appreciate it. And until the next one, I'll see you all next time. Thank you.